camera and mute yourself when you're not talking or asking questions, and there'll be a point for questions later. And the meeting will be available. I think we have a slide about meeting being available later. Yes. So if you do want to ask a question, please, there's a raise your hand feature on the menu bar in Teams. And when we call on you, you can come off mute and ask your question, or you can type it in the chat window. Okay, so whoops, sorry, I went a little too fast there. I need to not use my mouse, it's too tricky. I'll do the keyboard. So we're welcoming announcements. It is being recorded, available on YouTube shortly after the meeting. Our guest, John Maeda, again, how the new open source semantic kernel is like a kitchen for design thinking, which makes me personally think way back to the old new Emacs kitchen sink logo, if that means anything to anybody.
Man, yeah.
That's real old school. But we're going to be talking about large language models, AI. There's very involved, and John will tell us all about it, but this is the description that's on the meetup. And let me, okay. So we are in our normal transition after Code Camp and restarting things, and we have 3 people on the board, and we're looking to grow the board. But at the current time, it's Santosh Hari, who's off camera, myself, and Tanner Rowe, who's also on this call. And we'll maybe adding to the board in the coming months. Here's how you can get in touch with us through all these methods, although we haven't. I just realized we didn't add Mastodon. We're also on Mastodon as OneTug, but I have not added that, and we haven't put it on the website, so I will make a note of that. But on our website, links to Facebook and all of these sources. And also, if you need to get in touch with us by email, board@onetug.net. All right, we do not currently have a monthly sponsor for this meeting, but we're always looking for one for future meetups, especially when we get back to in-person events, as we also like to do socials after if we can. But let us know if you're interested in sponsoring. So this is where we usually open the floor for community announcements. If anybody's got any new new open source project, or know about another thing in the Central Florida or greater area community, that sort of thing. Anything cool going on that you might want to tell everybody else about that comes to these events regularly? Okay, we'll move on then. And John Maeda has a very lengthy bio, very prestigious person, has got all sorts of, the author of 5 books, but he's currently the Vice President of Design and Artificial Intelligence at Microsoft. 5 books, as I said, General Intro to AI ML, How to Speak Machine by Penguin Press, and The Laws of Simplicity by MIT Press. Represented in the permanent collections of the Museum of Modern Art, New York City, and the Cartier Foundation Paris, first recipient of White House National Design Award for algorithmically generated visualizations and form-based data. Oh, I guess I skipped the first sentence, American technologist and product experience leader. And with that, I think we're at the end of the slides. And so I will stop sharing and turn it over to you, John.
Right. Well, thank you, Andy, and the leadership tug. I like this tug. It's sort of like pulling sort of on things. Not easy to keep a community going. And I'm also an Emacs person, Andy. But Emacs people can do VI. We know that. But Emacs was a time, and I forgot about the kitchen sink, and that was an icon, really. So, whoa, nostalgia. Well, thank you for your attention. I know that it's maybe evening or late afternoon or night time, wherever you're calling in from. Want to thank all the people here. We got Aaron, we got Emil, we got Chris, Devin, Gabrielle, Patrick, Jay in Seattle. We got Juan, Kathy, we got MA, could be the whole state of Massachusetts is here. We've got Michael, Sandra, let's play Santos. Thanks for pulling me in here. Stepan, Tanner, Thomas, and Jimena. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to sort of go through a couple things. First up, all this material is available online, open source. I know we all care about open source, and there is a hackathon, self-service hackathon that's available that has all this material, but it has two halves. One is about kind of calling out this moment, and the other half is about actually cooking, like doing stuff. So this is about the moment. So the moment of AI, if you haven't noticed, has happened basically. And those of you who, like I was involved with AI in the 80s, back when AI was Lisp and what were called Lisp machines. And it really didn't do too well in the 90s. The so-called AI nuclear winter happened. And but since 2012, with the advent of GPUs being able to revive the neural network method, it's resulted in incrementally better AIs. But in 2022, early half of 2022, AI was kind of popular, but not that popular. But if you notice, at the end of 2022, when ChatGPT was available to everyone, people were like, whoa, this is all brand new. And so everyone came back from winter break to work with boss saying, hey, I need some AI. That was a new era. And I want to think about how this is what Moore's Law does. I wrote a book called How to Speak Machine as an attempt. 6 years it took me to write a book for lay people who don't like mathematics to understand how machine learning works. It was a terrible failure in the market in 2019, but it helped me kind of calcify this moment. Imagining it would happen. And the way to imagine how it happened is Moore's Law. And I know Moore's Law is a popular idea, but I used to use Moore's Law a lot, but didn't really fully understand how to explain it. And so How to Speak Machine helped me explain it in terms of an old British riddle. And the British riddle goes like this. There's a biologist who lives next to a pond, and there's lily pads on the pond. And she clears the lily pads off of the pond. And then she plants a certain kind of lily pad where day 1, it's 1 lily pad. Day 2, it's 2 lily pads. Day 3, it's 4 lily pads. Basically, overnight, the lily pads double. And the old British riddle goes, on day 30, the pond is filled with lily pads. And the question is, on what day was it half full? And the average person will say day 15 because 30 divided by 2, of course, is 15. That's half full. But those of you who are super geniuses in the one tug world, you know that it was on day 29. So at South by Southwest, I called this the AI ketchup bottle moment. Moment where people kept whacking the AI glass ketchup bottle, hoping it would come out, but like, like little bits came out, little drops came out, but the whole thing didn't come out. All of a sudden, it came out last year, and there's AI everywhere, if you've noticed. And the way to understand this is we're moving from machine learning, classical machine learning, well, not even classical, like it's still changing, right? Where you basically create a knife out of iron ore, data. You have to collect it. You have to have a data warehouse. You have to hire machine learning experts. You got to build a model. You wrap the endpoint and maybe have a part of a feature or a product. And we know this is hard. To collect all the iron ore, you got to clean it, you got to melt it, you got to pound it into sheets and repound it into perfectly designed blades that do one thing well, like finding a cat in a forest. But if someone says, hey, can you find a dog in the forest? No, I gotta like retrain the whole model. That's how we know things are. The models are specific. They are probably good, like 72% likely to find a cat in the forest. Take a long time, require a lot of expertise. It's just hard. So what's happened is they're moving to a model that an AI pioneer from Carnegie Mellon, a late AI pioneer, also an amazing economist, Herbert Simon, had this idea that the human brain works as two blades of a scissors. One blade is the cognition blade, the brainy part, the thing we think is thinking, and the other blade is the context blade, the idea that there's a real world out there. And what happens is this interaction between these two blades creates the what we think of as intelligence. Like imagine for any of you who've ever had amnesia, it's a pretty terrible thing, or anyone who's been living with it for a longer period of time. Amnesia is like you're still functioning, but you lost all your memories. So you have one blade that can do everything necessary, but you're missing the context blade, the identity of who you are. So you need two of these to be essentially humanish. And if you build with large language model AI, what's really interesting is that building AI systems this is the easy button. The large language model, you just call an API, design a prompt. It's basically natural language. It's easy. You need a vector database to extend the ability of the model beyond the limitations of the token window. And voila, you have a product. Notice how like, making a knife the old way is hard. Beautiful, by the way. Making an AI system with scissors is unusually easy. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing screen. And for those of you who can see me over here, I'm like a little window over here. So far, what we've described is the following: a moment where AI, nobody cares about it, to, oh my gosh, how do I get AI now? A world where AI is really hard to build. And then a world where like, wait, there's a easy button for it? How does that work? So what's happening is in the entire world, we're needing to make a 90-degree sort of switch from thinking that something that was hard is easy, and then thinking that the way to do it is hard, and then knowing that the way to do it is easy. And there's no better way than in code. I was lucky to work in the WordPress community, open source WordPress, for 3 years. And there I learned, there was all kind of shade around the language PHP, by myself included, because I was like, PHP, oh my gosh, who does PHP? But the server side of, well, Facebook uses PHP, by the way, but WordPress uses PHP. And if you're like a computer science snob, you'll say like, oh my gosh, PHP. But if you're someone who doesn't know how to code, it's an easy language to learn. And I don't see anyone complaining about my PHP comments in the chat channel yet, so I'm okay, I think. No, any PHP lovers out there? So PHP in the WordPress community stands for people helping people. Isn't that nice? It's like a way to kind of like work together. So this project, Semantic Kernel, has been open sourced. I understand it's the fastest project of this scale to be open sourced by a big company. And it's because we don't have all the answers, because we're in this new world and we want to figure it out together. Okay, now if you remember the metaphor of the scissors, scissors, you see scissors? Scissors are pretty scary things. If I just like whacked my hand like this, not good. And maybe maybe your parents told you this thing, like never run with scissors. So you always hold it like this when you run. Really, if you hold it like this, dangerous. The same way, this new kind of AI is like a pair of scissors. So make sure you're careful when you run with it, because it can do a lot of things. That is why responsible AI, this is a responsible AI guideline that's for free, available on the Microsoft site. There's a gazillion, bajillion frameworks we have. to be able to. I won't do that, Santosh. Don't worry. That would get a lot of clicks, wouldn't it? But anyways, there's a designing responsibly with AI. Cannot reiterate how important that when you're making with AI, it is unusual. It is not dangerous. It is just a pair of scissors. It's powerful. So those who build with it have to build it well. There are a bunch of resources. There are different games to make us think about how to design responsibly, design products for people, human beings that are AI responsible. I have a bunch listed on my design and tech report for South by Southwest. It's open. Just go to design and tech.report for that list. And also on my LinkedIn, I just shared, wait for it, a semantic kernel responsible AI skill that we can use we give it a feature and it's able to give us a matrix that asks questions about the worst case that it could be used for in terms of impacting people negatively. And you want to ask these worst case questions because it makes you a critical maker, a critical thinker who's making carefully. You're holding the blades of the scissors while you run. Now, let's get into cooking because I promised cooking, right? I'm using a camera I got on an Indiegogo a couple of years ago. If I do this, make a loser sign, it magnifies. Why did it make it L? Maybe it's just easy to, the machine learning, right? That gesture is easy to probably detect. So first off, we're going to cook with semantic kernel. And semantic kernel conveniently has the letters SK in it. And what is it? It is an SDK. It's a software development kit. And it's been built in C#. There's also a Python branch and a TypeScript branch, by the way. But I know the .NET world, we all love C#. Also, .NET supports many languages, I know, but C# lives at its core. And with C#, you can easily craft in the full vocabulary of semantic kernel. And the kernel is best thought of, at least to me, it's like an oven or a stove. I'm sure you have a kitchen. I think Florida's pretty hot, but you need like a range or an oven. Electric, induction, gas. The heat is what unlocks the beauty, the deliciousness of a meal, right? So kernel is like an oven. It's an oven, and this kernel is designed to process large language model AI prompts. And we call them skills. And the skills, notice the SK in there, kind of cool, SK. The skills are important because they are the building blocks. Think of in code how we have procedures, abstractions. So they're basically the core abstraction that, of course, like all abstractions, lets you can connect it like a box of Tinker toys once you have good abstractions or skills. And then we have what's called memories. And what memories are is, think of those two blades of the scissors. So you need the memories because you need the context. And this, we're going to detour for a second when I go into this thing around memories, because if you're new to large language model AI, it's something that you don't really care about until you bump into this situation. When you bump into it, you're like, but if you're just starting out, you're like, what's this guy talking about? I don't need memories. I'm fine with my prompting. Turns out you need memories. Just come with me on that. And going back to the cooking metaphor, this is the heat of the oven, the heat, the fire. Skills are like salt. They're so essential. Salt. I mean, low sodium is good, I know that, but you're from Florida, so you know about delicious food has salt in it. Memories, I like to think of as fat. Avocado fat is technically good for you. So memories are like fat. Fat's like richness. So the richness adds to the taste of something. That's memories. And lastly, you're from the the state where that I when I was a kid, I was advertised, citrus, right? So this is like a lemon. There's something called connectors, and connectors are kind of like lemon juice. You put lemon, you put little citrus zest on something. It's like fresh, right? So connectors bring in fresh data from APIs. So let's review for a second. We have the oven, the kernel, the heat. We have the skills, kind of basic sort of like building blocks of like good food. We have memories. It adds extra richness to what you're cooking. And lastly, connectors, because sometimes you don't want to cook with canned food all the time. You want to like get fresh vegetables or fresh fruit or something. You want to add little new fresh API data, fresh data, right? Do you want to like work with data from 2 years ago? Well, it works if it's timeless information, but if you want the stock ticker of a company, like right now, you kind of want to have that fresh data. You want a little bit of a connector magic. Okay. By the way, this was borrowed from my favorite cookbook by Semen Nosrat, Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. If you haven't seen it on Netflix, it's an amazing miniseries, New York Times bestseller, fantastic book. Okay, so how are we going so far? Let's see if I have any questions in the channel yet. Are we still following? Are we following along? Following along? Please emoji react so I know we are. Okay, all right. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to switch into coding mode or cooking mode. I mean, coding and cooking, so similar sort of in words, aren't they? Okay, here we go. Okay, some of you may know the famous book Numerical Recipes, which was in C and Fortran back in the day. And so I think we've always referred to algorithms as recipes, and who doesn't not like food, right? Okay, so thank you, Jimena. We're here. Okay, you may be a robot. Okay, so I have a special advanced cooking lesson, not advanced, beginner cooking lesson over here, and it goes through videos. Hello, Gabrielle, and everything I'm doing is there. It's a repo. You can download it. I have instructions for how to do it or clone it if you're a more sophisticated user. But again, it's not meant for like a genius AI developer. It's meant for someone who's like, hey, I know my stuff and I'm kind of curious. I've had 4 people actually that I know personally use it. One's a head of PR at a company, not a coder. I've had a person who used to be a web dev did it. A person who's like never developed software too. So pretty good. All right, that's my record so far. But again, if it doesn't work out for you, please like put a comment there or like complain in the Discord channel. And that's actually me listening, not a cat or AI cat. Okay. All right, everyone, follow along. We're gonna go into the kitchen here. Go in the kitchen. Kitchen's a great place. Okay, so first off, we're using something called um, polyglot notebooks, which are fabulous because everyone who's ever used Python notebooks, Jupyter notebooks, gets a little jealous, I'm sure. But now we have polyglot notebooks running in VS Code. Pretty cool. And what you can do is if you look at these, I have a whole README file, by the way, in that repo that I point to. This is coming, by the way, this quadrant thing, pretty cool. I have a whole README. It goes over, and I have a whole prereqs thing. I've laid out everything you need to download: VS Code, .NET 7, Polyglot notebooks. You have to have an OpenAI key or Azure OpenAI service key. A lot of people don't have Azure OpenAI service keys yet, so the easiest way is OpenAI, and you can do that from you can be a free tier. And just note that when you're on free, you'll get throttled a lot. So if something doesn't work, sometimes it's because you weren't on paid. For all demos, it's my personal paid key, actually, just to sort of make it clear to everyone that I'm going to make sure that I'm using it the way that you might use it. And it cost me like, I don't know, like last month was like $5. So, and I'm doing a lot of demos. So pretty affordable. Okay, so to review, I have everything I've described to you here: salt, fat, acid, heat. I have the analogs written out if you want to read that slowly, and this is written by a human, not by GPT. So for good or for worse, this is actually my text, basically. Um, and just to make sure it works, but also always choose .NET Interactive, because what happens is it kind of like has different kernels for the Jupyter notebooks. It'll ask you Python notebook. Always just use .NET Interactive. That way you'll be able to run the C#. Okay, so this let me run that, see if it works. If it all works, you'll see this happening, and that's like magic. Okay, all right, we're in the kitchen, we're in the zone. Now let's make our first dish. And I keep reminding you over and over, this is not gonna work unless you have the 3 things. Following so far? Let's go. Now we're gonna cook our first dish. You need a key, you need an oven, kernel, and we're gonna add a little salt to the meal. Okay. All right. Good. And I'm all. Very good. Thank you. And Gabrielle, you're coming along. Come with me into the kitchen. Here we go. Okay. So first off, what we do is when we hit this one, this is gonna. So notice in this config directory here. Oh, I'm gonna delete it. Let me show you. So I'm gonna make this a fresh config. Okay. What I did just now, you only do if you want to like demo this to someone like all of you. Okay, so like you see here, this config directory, it has a setting.c C# file. When I hit this, it's going to ask me for my OpenAI key. And I'm going to just paste it in there, and I've hit enter. And notice how it made a settings.json file. That means your key doesn't go anywhere. It's living on your local computer, you know. I'm sure you've seen how like everyone's like brother, sister, nephew, niece has a new, hey, try out ChatGPT or try GPT on my website. Go ahead and add your OpenAI key, and you're like, do I want to add my OpenAI key to this site? I don't know about you, but I've done all my security training. So this keeps it on your computer. It doesn't go anywhere. That should feel good. I feel good. So this is your kitchen. This is nobody else's kitchen. All right. Okay, so like I added it. It says the AI model is configured, good to go. I'm going to now go to step 2. I was at step 1. I'm going to step 2, and this is going to load the kernel with that API key, and it did it. No error. If you see a confirmation, good. If you see an X, bad. I've removed most cases where the bad occurs. So again, Discord, just say like complain, hey John, my gosh. Step 3, okay, now we're going to actually make a semantic function. What it is a summarizing function. Summarize the content above unless above referring to an input parameter here, and I'll show you what that is. Let's first define the string. Nothing fancy is happening, folks. We're just making a string. All right. Step 3.2. We're going to like set the parameters around the function. Remember I said there's an oven? Well, the oven needs a temperature. And so these types of prompts are sensitive to temperature. If it's hot, it gets very Florida, very creative. If it's cold, it gets very Alaska. Maybe less creative, maybe, I don't know, but you gotta survive in Alaska, right? It's pretty cold. That just set the temperature, defined a function to summarize, okay? Now, here we go. It's 1.0 actually, 0 to 1, 0 to 1, okay. But again, Santosh, I could be wrong, but this stuff keeps changing. So anyways, I don't know. Does it matter? 0.9 to 1, you know what I mean? But like, I think the fractional numbers help you realize that it's in a range. And then this is the state. This is something I pulled out of an interview with Kevin Scott, our Chief Technology Officer. And this is going to now take the function we created, the salt, the skill. It's going to use the oven, and it baked it, and it says 2023 is said to be the most exciting year for AI yet. Wow. Okay, everyone, wait for it. We just cooked. We just cooked with the oven prompt, custom prompt. We gave it this as input because $input refers to this variable here. And yes, you can rename that. I'll show you that next. But everyone, feel the moment. Michael, feel the moment, okay? That was cooking. And you can do this within, if you have all the prerequisites loaded, this works within 5 minutes. So it's very gratifying. And we have a Python version of this too if you are not a C sharper, but if you're the .NET world, you're probably a C sharper. Okay, next up, let's go to episode 3. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a little more, so this has been designed to be powerful, which means that it does things that you have to understand before you can use. So first off, skills in a local kernel instance are packaged in folders, at least currently. Again, this stuff keeps changing and moving, but that's the point of having this documented. There are skills. The skill is the overall kind of domain namespace, and the function can live underneath it. And then inside it, there's a file called skprompt.txt, which is the prompt lives in there. The parameterized prompt lives in there. So just remember that the function is in the skill and the text file is in the function, and right. So let's do it again. There's a skill called A. There's a function A, another function. They both have skprompt.txt in them. There's also a config.json file that's optional, where you can actually stuff the temperature parameters and other parameters like that in. If you really want to get creative, literally. Well, tuning, you want to tune. So this example where you'll usually have an enclosing skills folder, a skills directory, which you have to point the kernel to. And in it, you'll have skill A, skill B, skill C. And in skill A, you'll have functions and more functions. And again, I apologize for this. This is like the moment where I'm teaching you how to like put a seatbelt on in the airplane. It's kind of like, you kind of want to ignore me, but in reality, it's kind of important if something happens. So just remember that you have a skills directory. It has skills in it. Each skill has functions underneath it. Each function has a text file, skprompt.txt. Okay, let's now make a kernel. Again, now it's using that settings.json file. So the neat thing is you set it once and you can forget about it. There are examples of the code in the repo that use like a shell environment variable too. But I like this version because it just makes it clear where your key is, so you feel kind of good. Later on, if you want to change it to using shell variables, be my guest. This is all open source. Okay, no error message. Woo, we like that. Okay, now if you look here, I have a bunch of skills in here. I have a chat skill, and I have a fun skill. That's a fun skill. That's the skill to tell excuses, a skill for jokes, a skill for limericks. You see that over here? Okay. Now what I'm going to do, so I'm going to point my skills directory to this skills directory. I'm going to load the fun skill. I have to explicitly load this fun skill. I'm going to define a variable and call the joke skill in the fun skill. Pause for a second. There's skills, fun skill, joke skill. The joke skill is this file here. Okay. Oh, do you see syntax highlighting? I'm going to show you something cool. We launched it just today. Okay. Let's go back to them. Okay, let's do it. I'm going to do that. And what did it do? It used the joke skill. It took as a parameter time travel to dinosaur age, and it did it. It made a joke. What did the time travelers say when they arrived in the dinosaur age? Wow, I didn't realize I was taking a step back in time. Is that a great joke? I don't really know. That's a really good joke, but nice try, AI. Okay, next up, we're going to provide multiple inputs to a semantic function. Remember that everything was that $ input. We're going to make it instead, we're going to use input and audience type. That's 2 parameters, right? One is about tell me a joke about going to the department store for audience type snobby people. Run this now, and there's more context given. What did this snobby shopper say when she went to the department store? I'm not impressed. I expected more from a department store. not really a good joke, but you know what I mean. It's a Q&A. I think the riddle cups are a little better than this, but again, play with the creativity, play with a prompt, get a better joke. Now, you don't have to name everything input. The input is used because, like a Unix shell, you can chain things together, input, output, like the argc, argv thing. But you can also give it real names, like for this fun skill, this limerick skill, that you can set the name of the limerick you want it to be about, and then who they are, the great scientist. And this is not using $sign input. It's using two specifically named variables. But when you don't use $sign input, you lose the ability to pipe these functions together, chain them together, which is really the real power, I believe. Okay, limerick happened. Scientist named Marie, whose experiments were quite hard to see. She discovered two things that made her wings, and now she's a Nobel Prize winner. You see, it's quite optimistic. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second here because we've been traveling through brain space, which can be quite boring. I want to review where we've been so far. We've already been cutting with the scissors, folks. We're like cutting with the scissors. We have the model, the pre-trained model, and we have a prompt. The prompts are like a little blade that are sort of rubbing against the large language model, producing friction, producing output, looks like intelligence. I want to remind you that we're using this kernel, the oven, to heat, first we fire up this blade, and then activating the different skills. You saw a joke skill, a limerick skill. Okay, now we're going to go into memories. Now, memories is again something you do not care about until you start doing this for a while. Okay, 1 second. Sorry, need to hydrate a bit. Okay. All right, are you following me still? Okay, okay. Anybody out there still following? Okay, good, good. Okay, Jimenez there. All right, and to begin this section, let us say, remind you, we're going into the avocado section. Here we go. Let's go. Gabrielle, you're here. Good, good. We're still here. Everyone's still here? It's good. Okay, good. I'm all still here. Okay, here we go. Let's go into memories, folks, because Michael, you're here. All right, so like memories takes a while to understand. The skills, whatever, the prompt, whatever, it's like, yeah, I kind of get that. But the memories thing, I would tell you it took me like 2 months to understand. And so what you're seeing is like a concentrated version of the understanding I have. So you could probably get it in like 2 weeks or a day. You guys are smarter than me, so you could probably get it in like an hour. You've been doing this stuff longer than me. This was my first C# world, by the way. But anyways, memories are interesting. And let me describe the problem. So the problem is that this blade here, I've got this blade that's foundation model blade. It's like a sci-fi movie where it's got some limitations. It's watching this TV show. I love fantasy sci-fi, whatever. It's like someone's always got like a magical weapon that just stops working. Can't overuse it. So the same with these like magical blades, these magic foundation models, they've got limitations. These are the models through the OpenAI franchise, Ada, Babbage, Curie, Da Vinci. Oh, by the way, Ada, Babbage, Curie, Da Vinci, A, B, C, D. Nice, huh? Let's pause for a second. Those of you who didn't know that, when I figure the A, B, C, D, A is oldest, D is newest, alphabetical. That was like mind blowing for me. So, Ada older, less powerful. Da Vinci newer, more powerful. Again, GPT-4, like it wasn't like where's the F and the E or the E and the F, whatever. But anyways, you just remember that, and like things get sort of, the fog starts to clear, and each of these models can be used to compute what's called embeddings. And embeddings are vector space representations of meaning. And if you're someone from natural language processing world or world of search, you're aware of this term. If you're from the web world, you think of embeddings like an iframe. But an embedding in this world is a vector of numbers. And the vector of numbers is able to place an idea in a vector space. And it does it in a very powerful way that can be understood simply. Let's do that for a second. Again, if you're new to this and you don't understand it, do not feel bad. So let's try it. Let's imagine we have two axes. We have two axes. One is what would this one be? One is upset. This is like upset. This is high upset, low upset. And let's use this one as like, this is people. People get upset. People hungry, 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 hungry. So let's have a hungry axis. Low hungry, high hungry. Okay. Let's say anyone who has an infant or baby or a niece or nephew, when they come out, they're like, what are they? They seem kind of upset and kind of hungry. There, or Jimena. Okay, Jimena is like, we'll put Jimena over here in the upset, hungry category. But I would say, you'd put most people in the upset, hungry case. But let's say there's someone who's like never gets upset when they're hungry. They're like Botox, no hanger, right? So it's like, oh my gosh, this person's name is Bob. Okay, we're gonna put Bob over here, like hungry, high hunger, but low upsetness. This is Bob over here. So like there's a cluster of people, regular people, and there's a cluster of people here who can really handle it. Maybe there are some people who are like medically like never get hungry, right? So they're over here. Anyways, that's like using two vectors, right? I mean, so two axes. Okay. Now, what happens with these models, and two vectors would mean like a numerical space, Jimena, sorry to use you in this way, but it's because you engaged, I will pull you in. You are a 1, 1, right? Whereas Bob's going to be a 1, 0. So you have a vector. You've been embedded as a vector. And that was pretty easy. Ooh, sad one, anorexia. Isn't that sad? That's a real cluster, right? Yeah, it's very sad. That again, thank you. Again, remember that everything we do is about humans, and the humans matter. It hurts. Okay. So, where is my eraser? Oh, there it is. Okay, so imagine a world. It's like a sci-fi movie trailer. Imagine a world where I could take any sentence, and I could plot it in a 2,000 or 10,000 dimensional space. Like I like to eat, I was gonna say cats. I like to eat hot dogs. I like to eat hot dogs. And it might be over here. Let's say like I drive a sports car. Oh, did I just like come out of phrase? Can you hear me? Can you chat and tell me if you can hear me or not? Can you hear me? Yeah, good, Santosh. All right. I just heard a sound in here. Okay. So I like to eat hot dogs over here. And did you see the Netflix show? It's probably not going to be in that cluster there. It's going to probably be, let's say it's over here. And let's say I have another sentence like asparagus is expensive. That might be like over here. You can imagine a world where somehow it's again this thing I've had this for like 6 years. My favorite. I actually made this head thing because it hurts my head. But anyways, did you see the Netflix show? So like, let's say, how similar would the sentence, did you see Charlie's Angels, to I like to eat hot dogs? No. Similar to asparagus is whatever? No. It's similar to, did you see the Netflix show? So you can imagine, did you see Charlie's Angels going to be around here? All I'm saying is that in a higher dimensional vector space, it's possible to plot an analog to meaning, and these things can do that. It's weird. Okay. So, and it does it differently. So depending upon the model, I was just reading today that I was reading something where usually, so Ada embeddings are really cheap now, but someone was saying somewhere they use Babbage embeddings in some cases. But anyways, these models produce different vectors of numbers. And Da Vinci costs the most to use. And a month or 2 months in, I found people have the same problem I had. The way this world works is you don't have to use the same model for everything. You can use Da Vinci for inference or so-called completions, like guess the next sentence. You can use Ada because it's cheaper for embeddings, and I'll show you why you do that. You can use both at the same time, but you're using them differently. Okay, again, just sort of linger on that one, because if you don't understand it now, you'll bump into it later. So let's just watch. I'm gonna cook again. I'm gonna cook. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make a kernel, but this kernel is different than the last kernels. It's more like the last kernels was like a regular oven. This is more of a convection oven. It's adding this thing called embedding generation. Oh, by the way, really, semantic kernel is like an alpha constant change. So this name just changed. So my, I think it's add generation service. So I'm going to have to change all the notebooks. Anyways, again, I will map it to the right NuGet package. So, but this is using embedding generation. The other ovens didn't have this. Okay, so that's adding embedding generation. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 4 sentences and generate 4 gigantic vectors. I just made 4 gigantic vectors. Wow, that was easy, wasn't it? I made a gigantic vector for, I currently work in the hotel industry. I have worked as a tourist operator for 8 years. My new dog, Trixie, is the cutest thing I've ever seen. Can you believe the size of the trees in Yellowstone? They're huge. Okay. So now where are they? You know, they're sitting like in an object. They're sitting in memory. They haven't left your computer. So technically speaking, this text went to OpenAI. It sent back the giant vector of numbers. And so I'm holding on to 4 giant vectors of numbers. And then just want to, so like just ignore what I did just now. I did some that's kind of like in cooking. I just like marinated that. Let's put the marinade on the side. I'm not using the marinated fish or chicken or shrimp. I'm not using it now. Let's ignore the marinated shrimp. Okay. I'm now going to make a function. It says, tell me about me and blank input in less than 70 characters. So tell me about my work history in less than 70 characters. Okay. So it tells me that I'm an accomplished professional, or it tells me I've achieved success in various fields, or it tells me I'm experienced. So this is basically random. It doesn't know anything about me. It's just making stuff up. It has the intelligence, and it has barely little context. So it's going to just give you stuff. It's just basically making stuff up. Okay. Now, let's say instead, I want to know about this. Tell me about me and my work history. This is the weird part, folks. Okay. Okay, as you're gonna get ready. This is where it is. Just get ready. This is the hard part. Now, I'm gonna take this sentence. Tell me about me and my work history. The question I'm asking, I'm now going to compare it against what's in memory. These 4 sentences here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to ask it to compute the similarity and give me the closest match. So result 1 is if I ask, tell me about me and my work history, that sentence matches the I have worked as a tourist operator for 8 years. Relevance 0.825. It matches another link, another piece of text. I currently work in the hotel industry at the front desk. Notice it ignored the my new dog Trixie or the size of the trees in Yellowstone. Yes, Santosh, it's making stuff up because you haven't given it any context. You know, if it's telling you to leave your spouse, it's because you've like led it along this path that you're unhappy or something. So you give it context, it makes stuff up around your context. So I asked it to tell me about me and my work, whatever. Didn't know anything about me, so it made it up. So now what I'm showing you is if I have it ask like this, and I match it against the 2 other pieces of history, and then what I do is I take this context that I got back from the search, from the similarity search, and now I ask about my work history. It's going to tell me that I have 8 years tourist operator experience and 3 years banking associate experience. You see that? This time I didn't make it up. Before it was hallucinating-ish, just making stuff up. But now I gave it 2 pieces of information. I gave it some of this related memory, and it's like, oh, it's more relevant, right? Now, why does this matter? Going to Jimenez's question. Let's say you wanted to like take, I just said Harry Potter just because it's a big book, I'll put it in any book. I don't really need books anymore. Like, I don't know, like Spider-Man the Anthology or something. Let's say you made Spider-Man the Anthology. It's all text. It's a 2,000-page book. Here's a problem. You cannot take that giant 2,000-page book and shove it in the token window, because it can only have like up to 2,000 tokens or 4,000 tokens or 8,000 tokens. You can't do that. Let's pause for a second because let's demystify that. Okay, because actually this is a new. By the way, I'm like documenting this thing as I speak. I'm going to push out new documents that document this function. Again, this is all like work in progress, folks. Let me show you the what's going to be available in a second, or not a second, Friday maybe. So when Sandflush said like, "Hey, you want to talk, whatever?" I'm so glad you're here, everyone. I mean, everyone's got like a real life and stuff, so thanks for hanging out, because this stuff is like super new. It's like when the web came out, where no one knew how to make a website. Okay, I was a CEO. I mean, this is like watching the National Enquirer sometimes. Okay, so let me go to token counter. Okay, you see this thing here? This actually, there's a function you can call now that didn't exist last week, but it exists because it was a major request. When people make requests, we're listening. We're like, oh, okay, we got to do that. So let's say I have Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. I just seem to, I'm using an example, but it's like this long. You see that? That is 336 tokens. It's not very long, right? So if you, when you're sending information to the model to rub against the blade, it has a token limit. So if you try to stuff a 2,000-page book in that thing, this would be like what, like 50,000, could be like a large number of tokens. So this doesn't fit in the window. So what you got to do is you got to be clever with memory. This is a great engineering problem. This is the fun problem. It's like, and it's fun because no one knows how to do it the right way yet. So it's kind of awesome, right? Don't you want to be doing something where no one knows like how to do it? Because that's the definition of being a pioneer, right? So, okay, let's bring up the kitchen again. So episode 4 memories, I give an example of So let's say I had a 500-page book. Now let's pick Harry Potter because everyone knows Harry Potter. So is the seam token for limit is dependent on payload per call. Yeah. Basically, you have to remember that nothing is remembered between sessions. Analogy that's been used is it's like a genius in a room with no windows, and you show up with stuff and you ask it to do stuff, and it uses whatever you have in your pockets and purse. And then when you leave and you come back, it has no idea who you were. It has no persistent state. That's why you have to be very careful what comes in the room with you. Analogy is like, let's say you're having a test on Harry Potter, and the teacher says, well, you get to bring 5 pages from Harry Potter first book, just 5 pages. So let's say you knew that it was going to be about when Harry Potter got upset. What would you do? You would rip out the pages, just the pages when Harry Potter got upset. You might like rip out a page before or after so you had more context. You following? This is like wild. And you would take those pages to the test, and that's all you have to work with. Another trick people are doing, let's say that book Harry Potter has like 10 chapters, no, 5 chapters. What you can do is you can summarize chapter 1, summarize chapter 2, summarize chapter 3, summarize chapter 4, summarize chapter 5 in the size of a page. And so you bring in 5 summaries. It's like bringing 5 Cliff's notes in to a test versus 5 pages from the actual book. Now, in practice, this is Abe Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, 7 years ago, landmark in leadership in our country, or in the United States if you're in America. And when it's doing it's going to take that text and chunk it. It's going to break it into smaller pieces so that I can basically I'm going to take Lincoln.txt. I'm going to break it into tweet sizes, 140 characters. I'm going to stick it inside an Abe's word collection. Now it's built like that text into 10 chunks. And then now I'm going to ask it, like, what should the people do? It's going to compare against those 10 chunks. And it's giving me the top 30 chunks, the closest ones, relevance 0.8, relevance 0.7, relevance, where's a number? Oh, it's the page up. You follow me. So these, oh, actually, no, sorry. I just took the first 2 chunks, 2 result 1, result 2. I pasted these together in one chunk. And then I'm going to ask, so what should the people do? It now sounds Lincoln-esque. The people should continue the work that those before them have started and strive to make the world a better place. This is basically, so it's not it's not like making stuff up. It's leveraging chunks of Lincoln. And it's the 2 blades of the scissors, you see. The general blade is sort of rubbing against a better context blade. And so the name of the game is, how do you engineer the right context blade? Okay, this is sort of mind-blowing in a way. Let me take a pause for a second. It's a lot for an evening or morning or whatever you want. And you may know this already, but it's like, whoa, like what is that, right? Okay, let it in, okay. Again, exciting because it's a new day. Let's review again. We have the kernel is the oven. We have skills that can be fed inline or in directories. And I'll show you something so cool that we launched today. You're the first people to actually have someone tell you about it, actually. It's kind of cool. And I gave you memories to sort of build more context, to build larger contexts that are searchable. So you can like stuff the piece you want into the model's window. And then there are connectors, and connectors are basically API calls. And let's see here, like that's episode 5. Episode 5 uses a Bing connector. And let me get my Bing key. Okay. So I'm now going to build a kernel again. I'm adding our web skill, and then I'm going to add live data for the Bing Web Search API. So it's going to ask me for my key up there, okay? And I ask it, what's the tallest building in New York City? So this is a connector, it's an API connector. I mean, now in the new world, these are similar to ChatGPT plugins, the way to like talk to the real world. And then basically it's a way to kind of fix the memory problem where like the model itself has old information. You can feed it static information through memories, but sometimes you want to give it like fresh information. So in this example, I show you how I can say who I am. And if I like to humble brag that I've been to the tallest building in New York City, it adds to the prompt a fresh bit of lemon juice that's saying that I went to the tallest building in New York City, and it's actually pulling that building. It's saying I went to One World Trade Center. See that? Yep. Okay, yeah, Stefan, that's a good one. Tokenizer again. There's a function call you can make now, but again, I gotta change the docs. Okay, so the neat thing though is you can basically chain these things together. I'm gonna chain the web search into that function into just give me the TLDR notes, and it's sort of like it's like a Unix pipe, like like ls vertical bar a second NYC visit. There we go. That okay. All right. All right. Hey everyone, you have made it through, right? You've made it through the kernel, the oven, the skills, the memories, and the connectors. Congratulations. You made it through the 4 elements of semantic kernel. And of course, just like Steve Jobs, just one more thing, there is something called the planner, which is very powerful. But again, I wanted to like walk you into the kitchen, I want to shock you with any kind of magic. But there's this magical thing called a planner that you bump into later, which makes you have an aha that the way you write code will be forever changed. Because of this, when you build skills, if you remember, I have these skills, right? I made this like note gen, summarize topics, whatever. Wait for it. This is our new ta-da, visual extension, a visual code extension, now available in the marketplace, available as of an hour ago. Awesome. Over here, if you go to here and you go to semantic kernel, yeah, this is like super fresh, right? Look at that. Woohoo. Okay, well, so the stuff works, I get excited. I think we all make stuff, so we're always excited like it worked. All right, so what it does is this semantic kernel function, what it does is like an X-ray for your repo. So when I can X-ray, it finds all the skills, and I can look at the joke skill. You see that? I can exactly. I can add my AI endpoint, with a palette thing. The instructions are there, but what I can do is I can actually run the skill in line. Want to do that? Yeah, why not? Is that what I'm cooking? So this is like so like let's say you want to just like debug your skill, and we're gonna have it so you can actually do like A/B testing and things like that. Audience type variable, children. Input. We already did dinosaurs. Let me tell you a joke for children about strawberries. How's it doing? There we go. Oh, there it is. And it shows up in the semantic kernel output. So that's a way to kind of test your functions, because your functions have this config.json. Oh, this doesn't have a config.json. Let me show you. Let me show you ones that have a config.json. Oh, there you go. So in the config.json, this is going to be renamed to match the ChatGPT plugin format, but this is a human readable description of what the skill does. Define the root problem for given cases of customer problems. What happens is when you build skills, it's like having a spice rack. You can build skills. you like cayenne pepper. Like, what is cayenne pepper? It's kind of hot. Don't use too much of it. It really kind of burns your tongue, but it's awesome. Or you have like Himalayan sea salt. I don't know what that's for, but it's pink. It's pretty, whatever. It's good for like festive presentation. Right? So all these skills have like a human readable description of them. What happens? We move these human readable descriptions into embedding space. And so you now have a list of what's on your bat belt. It's embedding space. Let's say you want to make something salty, it'll grab all the salt-ish things near you. Okay, that was talking and cooking. Let's imagine instead you have skills for sending emails or responding to chats or like, standing up a new deployment, or it's like you have developed Devi skills, productivity skills, and they have these human labels. Planner takes a goal to ask, generates the steps sequence by sourcing all the available skills you've given it to get stuff done. You do it because you have skills that are labeled. Again, ChatGPT like plug-in capability. That way, they call this like auto GPT nowadays, like things that are able to like do all this stuff, like do more stuff than just tell a joke. That's what Planner does. And we have a Planner skill in the repo as well, which is causing quite a lot of excitement, I guess, because like, whoa. Yeah, so if you look at Semantic Kernel and a lot of these things coming out, it's been ahead of the curve because we had access to GPT-4 and could see it like what it could do. And our intent is really share as much as possible where this field is heading. And I can't say enough how important the responsible AI work done by Microsoft. Like, I didn't do it. I just joined like 5 months ago, but this stuff is like super amazing, super hard to understand too. So take your time with it. And like I was saying on my LinkedIn, I just posted a semantic kernel skill that does the harm assessment to humans. And I'll be posting more of these responsible AI skills because we want to make things that are good for humanity. We do it by asking questions of what bad can happen. But also we don't focus on just the bad, we focus on what good can be made as well. Okay, I am done with my presentation. I think I've ended before the time allotted, which means everyone go back to their daily lives. I give you back to my host. Thank you very much. Oop, my host's gone. Hello? Hello? This is like Ferris Bueller.
Yes,
Okay,
sorry.
okay, got it.
We are desperately hitting the mute button to come off mute.
Thank you.
That was great, John. Andy, you want to wrap it up?
Oh yeah, that was great. I guess let's open it the floor to any questions. I somehow disconnected myself in there while I was also trying to come off mute as well. But yeah, does anybody have any questions, and we'll raise your hand and we'll either type them in the chat or raise your hand and we'll let you come off and speak.
There is a question from Gabriel. How can we test the skills using design thinking?
Oh, okay. I'll do a little quick cooking there in a second. All right, good. All right. And by the way, if you all get involved with this and you want to contribute to the repo, it's open. And also the Discord channel is open as well. So you can actually go there and like contribute, ask questions. It's meant to be friendly. And we have a code of conduct too. So if you see anything not good, you should just raise your hand. And I was in the WordPress community where we really believed in the code of conduct. It's a serious matter. Like work together. We have to be nice together. Good. So design thinking, I mentioned, and I've been in that space for quite a while. And I had this awkward moment just last week when I showed off the design thinking example. And that's in episode 6, where unusual what you can do with this kind of coding. So let's go to notebook 6. And what I would do here is, I'm going to clear all output so I can rush. What I'm doing is, again, remember the chain, the Unix-like chain, do this, do more stuff, chain them together. So this, let's do what we do. We make a kernel, we fire up the kernel, oven is created, boop. And then we're going to load a skill. And these skill I'm loading up, remember it's in the skills directory. I'm loading a design thinking skill, which you have access to. It's the 3 phases. I'm going to do something longer around it. And design thinking skill, if you know design thinking, it's a 5-step process to build better products that are customer centric. You empathize with your users, you define their root cause problem, you ideate, brainstorm, you prototype, make new ideas, and you test them to see if they're actually valuable. So I ran this already. So what happens is I took the, do it again. So this is a customer support log. Customer 1, the power button on my phone is broken. Customer 2, my display stopped working. This is basically customer complaints. The empathize skill pulls out the sentiment. This frustration is high, angry is high, dissatisfied is high, and the reason why. Kind of magic, isn't it? And then let's say I had all this empathy and I wanted to understand root cause for the problems the users were experiencing. This is going to define the problem, because you can't solve the problem unless you understand the problem itself. So it's hypothesized that it's customer support issues, customers not receiving satisfactory customer support. And by the way, this is in GPT-4, it's TextDaVinci 3. It's ascertaining source, lack of training or resources. And so it's like 5 possible problem definitions. And now with those problems, I wanted to brainstorm ideas that are low resource intensive, high resource intensive, low hanging fruit, higher hanging fruit. Made a markdown table like that just now. But I could do it all in one shot. And when I say one shot, I can do it all in a chain, where I take the input, it gets sent through empathize, through define, think conjunction, junction, what's your function? It goes through ideate, and then it's going to generate that table as a chain of processing. There you have it. Higher, lower hanging fruit, automate customer service chatbot, higher hanging fruit, online customer service portal. So it's giving you options. And so what you can do instead is you can actually show up at your offsite with ideas of what to do. Now, people can argue these are not the best ideas, blah, blah, blah. Humans have to be involved 100%. That's again, not only for the quality, but for, again, be careful of the scissors I'm running. Hope answer your question, and that demo is available online, and I hope you give it a try. Okay, and then if you have any examples of how you use this, please share them in the Discord channel. Mention that you're a one-tugger. Let's do some like one-tug, right, Andy? Some advertising for one-tug. One-tugger strong, and happy to flag that to the folks, and really happy that this is possibly useful to a lot of people who've been wanting to write this kind of AI, but never had a chance to have a pair of scissors like this. Yeah, Santa's got the logo. All right. Okay, anything else? Oh, can't hear you, Andy.
Oh, sorry.
I can't hear. I hear you now. Yep.
No, I had my problem again with if there's nothing else in the chat, we want to thank you for coming to speak tonight. It was very interesting.
Thanks for having me.
Now we're going to